Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves take down the Utah Jazz in magnificent fashion. And I got the expert, Jack Borman. He's going to help us break it all down. It's all coming up next on the Locked On Wolves POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man, Jack Borman, on X, at JRBorman13. And Jack, before we jump into all the action, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, man. Wolves going for the 4-game season sweep over the Utah Jazz for the first time in franchise history, actually, tonight. All while, by the way, not having played a home game in 14 days. So tonight was their 6th and final road game here on this long gauntlet of a stretch before they do head back home tomorrow and square off against the reigning champs. More on that later. Tonight, though, the A topic, Wolves just finding a way to get it done without the unicorns, right? No Cat, no Rudy Gobert, no Naz Reid. He left the game at halftime, but Anthony Edwards puts the team on his back, 32 points, and the dunk that rocked the entire state of Utah, man. Wolves' depth also showed up huge. 10 different players tonight scoring points. The Wolves win it 114-104 and do sweep the Utah Jazz series 4-0. This turned out to be an absolute, I thought it was a really fun, entertaining game compared to at least what we thought we were going to get on paper. Kick us off here, Jack. Biggest takeaways, biggest A topics from this one. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, you gotta start with Ant in the hospital Wolves. I mean, for Anthony Edwards was terrible in the first half of this game. He was absolutely terrible for his standards. And you're just sitting there saying, you know what, got a feeling Ant's just going to turn it on. He really turned it on in the third and fourth quarter of the game on Saturday. He had 7 points on 3 of 8 shooting in the first half. He was a team worst -16 in the first half. And then in the second half, just completely takes over this game. He scored or assisted on 42 of the Timberwolves' 61 points in the second half. He had 25 points on 10 of 15 shooting, 6 assists, 0 turnovers, all while being double and triple teamed the entire second half, and had the dunk of the year on John Collins that completely changed the trajectory of this game. It gave the Wolves a 67-66 lead, and the Timberwolves did not give up the lead after that point. It got tied 83-83 at the start of the fourth, and I don't think the Timberwolves gave up the lead after that. I mean, that dunk just completely sucked all the life out of that arena, completely demoralized the Jazz, and you just kind of were sitting there feeling like the Jazz just had no answer for Anthony Edwards after that. And it was just magnificent to watch. It's just every single time you think this Timberwolves team is down and out with injuries, with the turnover bug, whatever it is, Anthony Edwards just has a way of being able to rally the troops and galvanize everyone and lead them onto improbable wins that we don't see coming, but we should see coming because he's that good of a leader on the floor and just has a way of magnetizing everyone and putting everyone on his back and instilling a confidence and never say die attitude in this team that is just so contagious and so fun to watch. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker is another guy that really feeds off of that. He was huge in the second half of this game, shutting down Colin Sexton. Had 8 of his 13 in the second half, which was huge. And Nickeil was a team best plus 23, which was really important.
Wow.
And yeah, and again, just to be able to have someone that has been as reliable as Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been. He's played in every single game this season for the Timberwolves, and he's been awesome in just about every single one of them. And then Naz Reid, right, is the other big topic here. He had 17 points in the first half of this game, gets hurt on a really weird play where John Collins' arm hits Naz in the back of the head in a really weird way. None of us really thought anything of it, but he ends up missing the second half. But in the first half, he was incredible. 17 points, went right at John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, whoever they threw at him. And this was honestly a game that I thought Naz might score even better than he did in the last game, just because going up against someone like Walker Kessler, who's much bigger, 7'2", much more of a rim presence, was probably someone that is tougher for Naz to score on than someone like John Collins, who's more his height, about 6'9", isn't really known for his defense or rim protection. And Naz just destroyed him for the majority of the first half. And it was just a bummer that Naz went down and couldn't finish this one. Has a head injury, probably not going to play tomorrow if that's the case, sitting out the second half of this game.
Yeah.
And for Naz, it was his third 17-plus point half since Karl Anthony Towns went down.
Wow.
Which is
out of what? How many games are we talking now? 5, 6,
6
7?
games, I think,
yeah,
since Karl went down. So his ability to just score points in bunches has been really helpful to this Timberwolves team. And yes, I know the second half was all about Ant and all about, Jaden making plays, making plays, Kyle Anderson coming up with rebounds and finding enough points and assists to help this team. But this team does not win the game without Naz Reid carrying the offense in a really sloppy start in that first half.
Yeah.
Ant really was not playing well in the first half. So don't forget that one. But
No,
man,
well said. And
I
just want to stem off that real quick here, because it does feel like we come on here every night, Jack, and we talk about Naz Reid in some fashion, one way or another, right? And it's almost always in a positive light. We highlighted him last game, for example, Saturday night. Great game against the Jazz in game 1. We got to talk about this injury, though, a little bit more, the ramifications, I think. This team cannot handle any more big-name injuries. And outside of Ant, this is the next most important piece of the puzzle right now, with Cat out for at least a month, right? Naz Reid. I mean, how much of a death blow, I guess, would this be now if he misses any significant time? What does it look like moving forward? And how much pressure is going to be on the bench now?
Yeah, they'll get killed tomorrow night in Minneapolis against the Nuggets. You're not going to have Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, or Naz Reid, and you've got to go out there and try and defend the best player on planet Earth in Nikola Jokic. And that's just not going to happen. I don't care who they put on him. I don't care if you put 5 guys on Jokic. I don't care if you did the thing where you put 5 guys in a circle, had him link arms and had him, form a circle around Jokic. He would still score 25, give you 15 assists and 12 rebounds. And yeah, it's just going to be a huge struggle for the Timberwolves to defend the rim in any capacity. I mean, you look at Luka Garza, we came out here, I came out here and was very critical of his defense, but really praised his offense the other night. And Luka, 8 really important points, and his willingness to let that 3-ball fly and his ability to knock down 1 or 2 of them is going to be huge. I think if he'd be able to give you 15 points, he might give up 20 points, but if he's good, or 25 points, but if he's going to be able to get you 15 or 17 points in maybe 17 or 18 minutes, I think that's going to be really important. I think this team's going to go small. They'll play Kyle Anderson at center. They'll try to get TJ Warren some minutes, but I would not be surprised if you saw Wendell Moore, Leonard Miller, or Josh Minot play rotation minutes tomorrow night, because it's just, who else are you going to play? And at this stage, I don't think you can afford to have an 8-man rotation going into a game like that. I mean, the Wolves do have 2 days off in between their next game on Friday. So, you're not super worried about Ant, Nikhil, Jaden, Slow-Mo, Mike playing bigger minutes, but it's just going to be about how you cobble together bench minutes, because Monte Morris is still on a minutes restriction coming off that hamstring injury, no doubt. He was great tonight, 8 points, 4 assists, but yeah, I mean, again, you hope that the bench can keep it going, because they had 42 points. They outscored a very, good Jazz bench led by Colin Sexton, at least a very good scoring Jazz bench. And 4 of the 5 guys who played tonight had at least 8 points and made at least 2 threes. And they're surely going to need that again tomorrow.
So we know Cat's out for another month, right? We know Naz Reid. I'm just going to speculate, maybe some sort of concussion type symptoms, maybe a game or 2, like you mentioned, a couple days off now after this Nuggets game tomorrow night. That could help. What's the deal with Rudy? Any word on Rudy? I mean, I'm kind of in the dark here, so apologies if there is kind of some fresh news, I guess. But what are you expecting for Rudy now? Jeff's saying, maybe a month.
For Rudy?
Yeah.
No, Rudy is not going to be out for a month. Rudy Gobert said something. I'm pulling up the
I know he
tweet
practiced,
from
right? He
Chris
warmed
Hine.
up a little bit before this one.
Yeah. So Rudy Gobert said, quote, "I just want to be able to make sure I can help the team when I'm back. Right now, the level of pain is getting better every day, but still not good enough for me to be able to be myself and help the team, which is never fun. Hopefully it's just a matter of days." So that clearly is a good sign that Rudy Gobert is at least feeling better every single day and is able to manage it enough to the point where, Rudy Gobert knows his body better than anyone. And he, it's a good thing that I don't think he wants to return until he feels like he can be 100% himself, which is a good thing. At this stage, the Wolves kind of have a floor right now of the number 3 seed, it feels like. And so there's no reason for him to rush it back. And if he says it's going to be a matter of days, I fully believe Rudy Gobert that it's going to be a matter of days. And I fully expect that we'll see him then. If it's just a matter of days, that we'll see him either Friday or Sunday against Golden State, hopefully, but we'll see.
Real quick before we move on to segment 2, just real quick, what's going on with Jalen McDaniels? Clearly not the same guy we were hoping for and thought we were getting this year, really struggling recently in a lot of ways offensively, more so than usual even. Always get the A+ defense. He was great tonight in a lot of different areas, but man, for a starter, boy, you would just love to get a little bit more contribution there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it felt like every single time Jaden took a really tough contested 2 on the drive, it went in. And then every time he had a wide open 3, he missed it. Right. So Jaden McDaniels, before he missed that 3 at the buzzer, going back the last 3 games, was 0 of 15 from 3 since the start of that Lakers game, and then made that 3 at the buzzer. So hopefully he can, get some momentum going. But the good news for Jaden is that he stayed out of foul trouble in this game, was able to play pretty much his full minutes load, played pretty good defense on Keontae George, especially in the second half, made life really tough for him. Mm-hmm. And then he had 3 stocks and grabbed 8 rebounds in this game and had that offensive rebound in the fourth quarter, that helped seal the game. So, even though his scoring wasn't necessarily where you need it to be, he has had at least 8 points in 5 of the last 6 games, which has been nice. You'd like to add 2, 3, 4 points to that every night, but that can come with just making a couple more threes, right? So if he can start knocking down threes, he'll be fine. But good news for him that he stayed out of foul trouble tonight for the first time in a few games and was able to really impact this game on the glass as well.
Yeah, well said. All right, plenty more deep dive, including these big name injuries the Wolves have gone through. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by LinkedIn. When you start hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the job, right? Well, then LinkedIn Jobs is a no-brainer because LinkedIn Jobs has the tools you need to help find the right professionals for your team faster, and it's for free. Now, I know when it comes to hiring, there's so many options to choose from, but LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It's the only job board because they've got the biggest network to choose from with more than 1 billion professionals. And that's what makes LinkedIn the best and only place to hire. LinkedIn is also going to give you access to professionals you just can't find anywhere else. And they do all that while also making the process easy and intuitive. It's so easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate match within just 24 hours. So it's time to join the 2.5 million small businesses that are already using LinkedIn for hiring. Try it today. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. LinkedIn, terms and conditions apply. I just want to switch to a broader question here now. And we've seen some of these new lineups now without Cat. Is there anything you can say with confidence that this team is actually better at without Karl Anthony Towns? Like, I know there's not a lot, but maybe something a little more unique or specific, like turnovers when driving to the lane or something like that. I know Cat was, one of the worst in the league in that department because I just think, Jack, everybody talks about the scoring now, the 3-pointers, etc. That's huge. I get it. But where could we actually maybe start to see some improvement now? Or where are we already seeing some improvement? Like in what specific areas have you seen?
Yeah, it certainly has been taking care of the ball and making quicker decisions, which is certainly an important thing that this team needs to improve on. And they've done so without Karl Anthony Towns on the floor and with Karl in the game. So This is the 60 games that they played with Karl. They averaged 26 assists, 14.7 turnovers. That's an assist to turnover ratio of 1.79. That would be 7th worst in the league for the entire season. And entering tonight, without Karl, they've averaged 27.3 assists, only 11.9 turnovers. So a 2.29 assist to turnover ratio. That would be number 3 in the NBA right now. So that is certainly a key area. And it's just, I guess, it's, something that I guess the Timberwolves just need to keep getting better with is their 2 best players have a tendency to hold the ball and stop the ball when the ball is swinging and just don't make quick enough decisions. And we've seen Ant really be able to improve that when Karl's not on the floor and he's kind of the center of attention, but something that, Karl has done a little less frequently, but certainly when he's done it, he's been at his most effective for sure.
All right, if I just went doomsday on the bit, just for a minute, knowing Cat's out now for a long stretch and whatnot, and I asked you, okay, what's the one thing that's going to hold this Minnesota Timberwolves team back from reaching their ultimate goal, winning the NBA final? Like one specific part of their game I'm talking about, not just, not good enough offense or shooting efficiency, things like that, or something kind of broad or vague. What's one specific facet of the game that if I told you the Wolves kind of fell flat on their face in the playoffs, you wouldn't be surprised that, blank was a big reason why? Injuries, bench scoring, turnovers, depth, 3-point shooting, lack of experience in big moments. What is it?
Yeah, it's got to be the fact that they drive into crowds way too much, and it's cratering their spacing. And they put too many lineups out there that just have really poor spacing. And it's the only reason, in my opinion, why the Timberwolves offense isn't a top 10 offense, because a lot of the lineups that you see out there that, like we saw tonight, moved the ball really well, scored in bunches, were able to get the ball to their best players in spots where they're most effective and most efficient. And that's just something that we haven't seen enough from the Timberwolves starting 5 specifically, and lineups with, Karl and Ant, where those 2 guys just drive into crowds and turn the ball over too much, and driving into crowds when you're not able to make the defense pay for putting 2 on the ball or 3 on the ball in the paint is just going to lead to too many tough finishes for those guys, tough passes and turnovers. And the thing is if you're missing really tough shots on the drive like that, a lot of times Ant and Karl end up on the ground, and then it's 5-on-4 going the other way, or they turn it over. And a live ball turnover is even worse than, a transition run out after a rebound. And so I think if those 2 guys can clean up some of their decision-making on the drive, and more specifically for Karl to stop driving into crowds and flailing and flopping so much. I think that almost a silver lining of the knee injury for Karl is that if he's not quite as mobile as he was for the majority of this season, maybe he'll just space a little bit more and just shoot 12 threes a game and still average 25 a game, because he's knocking down 5 or 6 threes a game. And, maybe we'll see some of that, but that's certainly number 1 for me.
No, that's actually really good to know. That's a great tidbit there. Wolves, Clippers, Nuggets, Thunder, all in this top tier, as we all know. We all know no Cat now again for a month. So knowing that, give me one reason why you think the Wolves can still beat each one of those teams in the playoffs. And then maybe one reason why that matchup would just really scare the heck out of you. What kind of one pro and one con for each team? Just maybe short and sweet, kind of rapid fire, top of your head.
Yeah, no question about it. So let's start with Denver, right?
Yeah.
So a reason why they could beat Denver is players on the Nuggets admitted that the Timberwolves were the toughest test that they faced on their way to the finals. And the Wolves didn't have Jalen McDaniels or Naz Reid. And Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert were both significantly less than 100% in that series. They're best equipped to defend both players, Jokic and Murray. I mean, if you want to look at Karl-Anthony Towns has spent probably the most amount of time guarding Nikola Jokic, or second most time behind Rudy. And they've had Rudy play off of Aaron Gordon. And then you have Mike on KCP. You have Ant on Michael Porter Jr. And then you're able to turn Jaden McDaniels loose on Jamal Murray. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns has held Jokic to 48 points on 46 shots, 37% shooting. And he's forced 6 turnovers compared to, 15 assists, which is well below what Jokic's assist to turnover ratio is. And Karl-Anthony Towns has been a really, really good defender on Nikola Jokic. And then you look at Jamal Murray has really struggled with length on him and shot 5 of 16 with Jaden guarding him in the first game. And so that's going to be big for the Timberwolves. But a reason why they could lose is, I mean, Nikola Jokic is the best player on the planet. It's not even close. And this Nuggets team is the best clutch time team. They have a plus 25 net rating in clutch this year. That's number one in the league. And for reference, the Denver Nuggets are the number one team in the league, and their net just overall is like plus 11. So
wow, what's the number?
Just,
who's the number two, and what is their ranking or rating
in the clutch?
Yeah, in clutch. Yeah,
I was surprised. It's the Bucks, I think, and the Bucks are like plus 23.
Okay,
so
wow,
that's
that
the
speaks
Giannis
volumes.
and Dame effect. Two of the best clutch players in the league. But
moving
on to Oklahoma City, I think that they could certainly beat Oklahoma City because they're way too big for Oklahoma City. I mean, Chet Holmgren has really struggled against bigger and burlier centers this year. Rudy Gobert has played really well against him. And I think Oklahoma City would just get worked on the glass to a point where they just get worn down over a 7-game series. I think the Thunder are a really tough matchup on any random night. But getting the game plan for them in a series, I think would also expose how thin their bench is as well. And they could lose this game just because they really haven't had an answer for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander all season long. Shai's averaging 35, 7, and 5 on 58, 33, 93 shooting splits.
Wow.
And he'd be the best player on the floor in a series. Like I love Ant as much as anybody on planet Earth, but Shai would be the best player in that series with what we've seen from him right now. He's been incredibly consistent, and he's pretty much destroyed anyone that the Timberwolves have put on him. The only silver lining, I guess, is his cousin, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, has forced 5 turnovers, and Shai's only had 4 assists when his primary matchup has been Nickeil. And Shai has been a plus in the plus minus in all 4 games, despite those teams being 2-2. So,
okay.
And then the Clippers. Yeah. I mean, a reason why they could win is the Wolves have played the Clippers better defensively than any team in the league so far this season. The Clippers offense this year, 118.7 offensive rating. That's 5th in the league. And their offensive rating versus the Wolves is just 105.6. That would be the worst in the NBA if you extrapolated that over a full season. And the Wolves are the only team in the league really that have the isolation defenders to take Kawhi, Harden, and PG. When you look at Ant, Nickeil, and Jaden McDaniels, that they could lose to the Clippers solely because, I mean, the Clippers have 3 of the best offensive players in the history of basketball in Harden, PG, and Kawhi. And I know that those guys certainly are not all at the peak of their powers, but they all have a lot of guys that are quick off the dribble and physical guards who can shoot threes and get hot as a team. And that's something the Wolves have struggled with all year. I mean, the Clippers are 3rd in the league in 3-point percentage. And James Harden played Mike Conley off the floor in the game that the Clippers won, just with how physically he was in the middle of the floor. So
knowing all that, phenomenal breakdown, by the way, and I think I know the answer, but of the 3 teams, the team you would like to match up with the most, maybe in round 2 or 3, right, of the Western Conference playoffs would be the Clippers?
Oklahoma City, for sure.
Okay, it would be. Okay.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma City...
Because of that matchup.
Because I think just over a 7-game series is tough. And I think Kawhi is better than SGA. I think Paul George is better than Chet Holmgren or Jalen Williams is the number 2. And, the Clippers are a team that have been together for a while and have a ton of playoff experience individually and with their coaching staff. So I'd certainly rather take Oklahoma City because if Shai doesn't have a good night, like let's say Shai only scores 20 points and has like 10 of 33 shooting or something like that, like we saw in the play-in game last year. I mean, the Wolves are gonna win. The Thunder just don't have enough horses beyond him to really get it done in a series, especially if Shai's not even at the peak of his powers.
No, that makes a lot of sense. All right, stick around. One last segment. We're going to preview this Nuggets game coming up tomorrow night. It's going to be a big one. That's all coming up right after this. All right, guys, sometimes the biggest cliches in life are cliches because they're true. And one of the best cliches that always resonates with me the most is if you look good, you feel good. And I always feel my best when I use Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get your own personal stylist who understands your style, your size, most importantly, your budget. And the best part is they do all the shopping for you. That makes it without a doubt the easiest way to update your wardrobe closet this upcoming spring season. Personally, I'm into that laid back, relaxed, casual look. I like the hoodies, the quarter zip ups, maybe a golf polo or 2. So my personal stylists help me find some new trendy clothes that fit my look and feel perfectly and help me update my closet without those long, excruciating, stressful trips to the mall. All you got to do, tell your stylist your size, style, and budget, and they take care of the rest. And my favorite part here, No subscriptions required. You order a new box how you want it, when you want it. And if you don't like it, no problem. You send it back on the house. Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. It's style that makes you feel as good as you look. Go get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. All right, 2 more quickies to close here. I got a fun one here for you. A couple season awards I'm looking at on FanDuel, Prize Picks, and so on. If you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, I want you to tell me which one you like when it comes to best bang for the buck. So you can pick the favorite, but you're not going to win much money, obviously. So which bet for the value do you like the most here? Here you go. I got 5 options. Rudy, Defensive Player of the Year, the heavy favorite of this group, -750. Finch, Coach of the Year, 4-1. Naz Reid, Sixth Man of the Year at 12-1. Anthony Edwards for MVP at 30-1. Or last one, your Minnesota Timberwolves to win the chip, 25-1. Which one jumps out to you? If I gave you $20, you're trying to maximize that $20 the most.
Yeah, I probably would have said, before Cat got hurt, I would have said the Wolves to win the title at 25-1, just because I think the chances that they get into the finals are, probably 1-7, 1-8, and then, probably a 50-50 toss up to win the title from there, maybe. But I would go with Naz Reid, Sixth Man of the Year at 6-1, and that, his stats are going to continue to jump in the next month. He's not going to reach starter criteria, so he's not going to end up starting more games than he comes off the bench. I mean, with Karl in 60 games, he's averaging a little more than 12 points a game on 48, 40, 69 shooting splits and 5 rebounds, an assist, and 1.4 stocks. So numbers that are good, but don't necessarily light the world on fire coming off the bench. But without Cat, 7 games entering tonight, so not including tonight, 18.3 points per game on 50, 43, 88 shooting splits, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and about 3 stocks per game. I mean,
that's unbelievable.
What he's been able to do with the added minutes and usage that he's gotten is incredible. And who knows? I mean, maybe his points per game average really climbs close to 16, 17 points a game by the time that this regular season is done and these awards are due in. So that could certainly end up being one that I think has the most value right now, just because I think that Chris Finch winning Coach of the Year, I don't see him winning Coach of the Year unless the Timberwolves finish with the number 1 seed. I think whichever the Timberwolves or Thunder finishes higher, their coach will win Coach of the Year. And I just have a hard time seeing the Timberwolves finishing above the Thunder in the standing. So I'd go with Naz Reid to win Sixth Man of the Year, 6-1.
I absolutely love it, for sure. I'll go 50-50 with you on that one. How about that? All right, we got 60 seconds left here. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 90 seconds, all right? But close us out with a little preview for this monster game tomorrow night versus the reigning champs. Wolves on a back-to-back now. Do you expect Rudy back for that one? If no, what do things look like? But if no Rudy and no Naz, let's just say no Rudy, no Naz, right? Do you go the other way and just say, you know what, let's give Ant and Mike Conley the night off too. And you know what, you can have this one. We still play you. We still see you 2 more times before the season's over. Where's your mindset at, I guess, going into this one, knowing everything you know about all the injuries and this Wolves team being so dinged up?
If I were in charge, that's what I would do, but I'm not in charge. And this Timberwolves team is going to come out and fight, presumably. I mean, Denver's real tough right now. They're on an absolute roll. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're the number 3 net rating team in the league in the last 10, plus 8.3. Everyone's playing great, especially Michael Porter Jr. has been scoring really well on really nice efficiency, and Jokic and Murray have been their usual excellent selves. And so I think Jalen McDaniels is going to have to be huge defensively on Jamal Murray. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to need to give you 15, 17, 20 points off the bench, and Ant's going to need to go for 40 if the Wolves have any chance of winning this game. And hey, another man down just means they need to get more scoring from elsewhere. And I think if they gang rebound, I think Timberwolves have no chance of winning this game unless Ant, Jaden, Kyle each are right near 10 rebounds and all play 40-plus minutes. That's a tough ask on a second night of a back-to-back, but who knows? I mean, I'm going to be curious to see what this line ends up being. It's probably going to be 13, 14, 15 points, but, we'll see. But
yeah, there's so many, speaking about the line, there's so many different variables and factors with so many injuries, so many big name key injuries that we need to really wait and see how everything unfolds until we probably get that line. That's probably not even going to be up in Vegas until maybe mid-afternoon, late afternoon at earliest, I would guess.
And the Nuggets are fully healthy. I mean, I just looked at their injury report. I mean, obviously Vlatko Cancar tore his ACL in the summer, and Zeke Najee's Minneapolis guy, Hopkins alum, questionable with lower back pain, but they're all healthy outside of that.
Okay. All right. You are an elite NBA mind by man. Absolutely phenomenal job. So much great feedback and like tidbits about not only this Nuggets game tomorrow night, but just where the state of the Wolves are right now after a game like this, the 6-game road streak that they went on. And then, what everything looks like, I guess, big picture without Karl-Anthony Towns these next 4 weeks. So Wolves sweep the Utah Jazz 4-0 this season. That's the first time they've done that in franchise history. They went back-to-back games now without Rudy Gobert. Of course, no Karl-Anthony Towns and no Naz Reid tonight in the second half. Really impressive stuff by your Minnesota Timberwolves. Finally back at home for the first time in 15 days tomorrow night versus the champs. That's going to be a huge matchup. Tip off for that one, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, huge shout out to everyone that joined us on the stream. You guys are the absolute best. And rest assured, we're going to be back each and every game, same time, same place, right here to break it all down. Quick reminder, got to go check out all of Jack's work. He's on X at JR Borman 13. And make sure you check out the entire crew on the Minnesota Basketball Party. That's each and every Wednesday. Sam Ekstrom hosting, Gophers legend Ron Johnson, Carol Evans, Reggie Wilson. Plus, you always got Ben Beacon ripping it up over on the Locked On Wolves podcast. That's each and every day as well. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. He's Jack Borman. I'm Luke Inman on Twitter at Luke_Spinman. Until next time, signing out.